My mom texted me from the kitchen, but she died last year. The first message came on an ordinary Tuesday night. I was in my bedroom thumbing through job listings when my phone chimed. "Dinner's ready, sweetie, made your favorite." The text was from Mom. That's exactly how it appeared, in quotes like that. I stared at the screen, my breath caught in my throat. My mother had died 13 months ago after a brief but brutal battle with pancreatic cancer. Her contact information had been deleted from my phone during one of my grief-stricken purges. I must have entered the kitchen a dozen times that night, finding it empty, dark, and undisturbed. The house had been my mother's before she passed. I'd moved back in during her illness and hadn't found the strength to leave afterward. Too many memories held me there, both comforting and painful. I convinced myself the text was some kind of technical glitch, maybe an old message that had somehow been stuck in digital limbo, suddenly delivered long after it was sent. I deleted it and tried to forget. 3 days later, another message appeared. "You forgot to take the trash out again. I did it for you." This time I checked the kitchen first. Empty, as expected. Then I walked to the curb. The garbage bins had indeed been moved from the side of the house to the street, though I had no memory of doing it myself. I called my service provider. The representative confirmed there was no record of messages sent from my mother's old number, which had been deactivated shortly after her death. When I showed him the texts on my screen, he suggested my phone might have been hacked or that I was experiencing some kind of elaborate prank. But who would do such a thing? And how would they know about the trash routine? How my mother would quietly do my chores when I forgot, never mentioning it except through a gentle text reminder. The next message came at 3:17 a.m., jolting me from sleep. Can't sleep either. I made tea. It's on the counter. I lay in bed, heart thundering in my chest as the familiar sounds began to filter through the house. The specific creak of the third kitchen floorboard, the soft clink of our ceramic mugs, the barely audible whistle of the kettle that my mother always removed from the heat just before it could fully sound. The smells came next. Chamomile and honey, Mom's cure for everything from insomnia to heartbreak. I curled deeper under my blankets, squeezing my eyes shut. Eventually, I must have fallen asleep, because when I woke at dawn and finally gathered the courage to check the kitchen, there was nothing there. No mug, no tea, no sign anyone had been in the room. But my phone held another message sent at 5:46 a.m. "You always could sleep through anything. I drank your tea. Love you." I called my sister Jennifer that day. She lived 2 states away, had since before Mom's diagnosis. "I think I need help," I admitted, my voice small. "I'm seeing things, getting messages." "From who?" she asked, concern evident even across the distance. "From Mom." The silence that followed was heavy, laden with unspoken worry. "Maddie," she finally said, using the childhood nickname I hadn't heard in years. "Grief does strange things. Remember how Dad kept setting a place for Mom at dinner for months after? How he'd catch himself calling her name when he came home from work. This is different," I insisted. "She's texting me about specific things happening in the house." Jennifer suggested grief counseling, mentioned a cousin who'd had auditory hallucinations after losing his wife, promised to visit soon. I didn't press further. How could I explain that this didn't feel like grief or hallucination? That the messages carried my mother's unmistakable voice, her precise mix of loving exasperation, her particular way of expressing affection through small acts of service. The texts continued, sporadic but increasing in frequency, always about domestic matters, always things my mother would say. "Noticed your light was on past midnight. Don't work too hard, honey. Found your missing blue cardigan. It's folded on the dryer. Fixed that leaky faucet in the guest bath. The hardware store had the gasket we needed." After each message, I'd investigate. The cardigan, which I hadn't seen in months, was indeed neatly folded on the dryer. The bathroom faucet no longer dripped. Small, concrete proofs that someone, something was in my house, caring for it, caring for me. I began to respond to the texts. "Thank you for finding my sweater. Did you need help with dinner? I miss you so much." The replies when they came were pure Mom. Check the pocket, your missing earring is there. Just set the table, please. Using the good plates tonight. I miss you too, sweetheart, every minute. I knew I should be terrified. Instead, I found myself falling into comfortable patterns, a strange domestic routine with an invisible housemate. I set the table as instructed one night, then sat alone eating pasta that had appeared while I was in the shower. It was my mother's recipe, the sauce made precisely as she'd always done, with extra basil and a splash of cream. Jennifer called regularly, her worry escalating as I shared less and less about what was happening. I stopped mentioning the texts, the chores completed by unseen hands, the sounds of someone puttering in the kitchen while I pretended to sleep. "I'm coming to stay with you next weekend," she finally announced, not asking permission, just for a few days. That night, a new message appeared. Jennifer's always been the practical one. She won't understand what's happening here. Maybe we should keep our arrangement private. A chill ran through me. This was the first acknowledgement that whatever was happening was secret, special, and potentially threatened by outside intervention. "What is happening here?" I texted back. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "I'm not sure myself, sweetheart. Just know that I couldn't bear to leave you alone, so I found a way to stay." The night Jennifer arrived, the house fell silent. No texts, no mysterious sounds or smells. The presence, Mom's presence, had retreated completely. My sister spent the weekend watching me with careful eyes, noting the extra toothbrush in the bathroom, the 2 sets of dishes in the sink, the way I would sometimes pause as if listening to someone speaking in an empty room. On her last night, she sat me down at the kitchen table. "I found a good therapist nearby," she said gently, "and I think you should consider selling this place. Too many memories." "I can't leave," I replied immediately, the words out before I could consider them. "Can't or won't? Both. She needs me here." Jennifer's face tightened. "She's gone, sis. Mom is gone." "Not entirely," I whispered. That night, after Jennifer had gone to bed in the guest room, my phone lit up with a message. "She's right to worry. This isn't natural, but I'm not ready to let go yet. Are you?" I stared at the text for a long time before responding. "Number, I'm not ready. Then we need to make sure she doesn't interfere. Come to the kitchen." I slipped out of bed and padded quietly down the hall. The kitchen was dark, except for the soft blue glow of the microwave clock. 3:17 a.m. As I watched, the digits flickered and changed to 3:18 without the minutes actually passing. "Mom?" I whispered into the darkness. The air shifted, became heavier, charged with something that raised the hair on my arms. I sensed movement near the refrigerator, a darker shadow within the shadows. "Open the drawer by the sink," came the text. I knew which drawer. It held kitchen tools, measuring spoons, the meat thermometer, and the set of expensive carving knives my mother had received as a wedding present decades ago. My phone chimed again when I hesitated. Jennifer never approved of how close we were, always trying to pull you away from me. Even now, she wants to separate us. The shadow near the refrigerator seemed to elongate, stretching toward the ceiling. The temperature in the room plummeted. My breath fogged in front of my face. "What are you asking me to do?" I said aloud, my voice trembling. "Nothing you haven't thought about before in your darkest moments." When the grief was unbearable, I stepped back, bumping into the counter. "You're not her. My mother would never—" "Let me show you something." The shadows in the corner of the kitchen coalesced, forming a shape that was almost human. Almost my mother. But wrong. Too tall, limbs too long, movements jerky and unnatural as it reached toward the cabinet above the stove. The cabinet door swung open without being touched. Inside was a collection of prescription bottles, my mother's medications from her illness. Medications that should have been disposed of a year ago. "Check the labels," the text instructed. I didn't move. "Check them," came the next message, forceful enough that my phone vibrated violently in my hand. The shadow figure reached in, knocking several bottles to the counter. They rolled toward me, stopping at my feet. With shaking hands, I picked one up. The prescription was in my name, not my mother's. Sleeping pills dated 3 weeks ago. I hadn't been to a doctor in months. I don't understand, I whispered. More bottles fell to the counter, all in my name: antidepressants, antipsychotics, medications I had no memory of being prescribed. You've been sleepwalking, darling, having episodes, little gaps in your memory. The doctor was very concerned. The shadow figure moved closer, its edges blurring into the surrounding darkness. Who do you think has been taking care of you all this time? Making your meals when you forget to eat? Cleaning up broken glass when you have your episodes? Who found you in the bathtub last month? That didn't happen, I insisted, but uncertainty crept in. There had been gaps lately. Mornings when I'd wake feeling exhausted, as if I hadn't slept at all. Cuts on my hands with no remembered cause. Ask Jennifer about the hospital stay. Ask her why she's really here. My phone screen flickered, then displayed a series of images. Me in a hospital bed. Jennifer speaking with a doctor in the hallway. A close-up of a medical chart with the words, "dissociative episodes," and "persisting delusion that deceased mother is communicating." "These are fake," I said, but my conviction was wavering. "You're trying to confuse me." "I'm trying to protect you. Jennifer wants to have you committed. She's already spoken to a lawyer about power of attorney." The shadow moved closer still. In the dim light, I could almost make out a face, my mother's face, but distorted, the eyes too large, the mouth stretched in an unnatural smile. "We can't let that happen. We need to stay together, just the two of us, like it's always been." Behind me, the drawer rolled open on its own. The shadow gestured toward it. "One quick solution. Then we can be at peace." I looked down at the open drawer, at the knives gleaming even in the darkness. Something was very wrong. The voice in the texts had changed, become more insistent, manipulative in ways my mother never was. "You're not her," I repeated, stronger this time. "Of course I am. Who else would know that you sleep with your closet light on? That you still have the stuffed rabbit I gave you for your 5th birthday hidden under your pillow? That you blamed yourself when I got sick because you'd wished I would stop pressuring you about graduate school?" Each revelation hit like a physical blow, things no one else could know. I'm the only one who truly loves you, who understands you, who will never leave you. The shadow extended what might have been a hand, reaching for my face. The air where it touched felt wrong, not cold, but absent, as if all matter and energy had been sucked away, leaving a void. That's when I heard Jennifer's voice from the hallway. "Who are you talking to?" Light flooded the kitchen as she flipped the switch. The shadow disappeared instantly, leaving only ordinary darkness in the corners. The drawer slammed shut. Jennifer stood in the doorway in her pajamas, hair mussed from sleep. Her eyes moved from my face to the prescription bottles scattered across the counter, then to the phone clutched in my hand. "Let me see your phone," she said quietly. "It's nothing, just work emails," I lied. "Please." She held out her hand, steady and patient. "Let me see who you're talking to at 3 in the morning." Something in her expression, concern without judgment, fear without condemnation, broke through the fog of confusion. I handed her the phone. She looked at the screen, then back at me, her brow furrowed. "There are no messages here," she said. "The text app is empty." I grabbed the phone back. She was right. The entire conversation, all conversations with Mom, had vanished. Not just deleted, but gone as if they had never existed. "That's not possible," I whispered. "We were just talking. She was telling me about you, about the hospital, about..." "About what, Maddie?" Jennifer's voice was very gentle now. "About how you want to have me committed, how you've talked to lawyers." Jennifer closed her eyes briefly, pain etched across her features. "You were in the hospital for 3 days last month after I found you unresponsive during our video call. The doctors said it was exhaustion combined with the medications you'd been prescribed, not a commitment." "I don't remember that." "I know." She guided me to a chair, then began gathering the prescription bottles. "Doctor, Levine said memory gaps are common with your condition. It's why I've been checking in so often, why I came to stay." "What condition?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. Complicated grief disorder with dissociative features, she said carefully. You've been having conversations with Mom for months, setting places for her at meals, reporting that she's doing chores around the house. I shook my head, unable to accept what she was saying. But things happen here. Real things. The cardigan, the faucet. Dinner was made. You made dinner before your shower, Maddie. You fixed the faucet last weekend while I was on the phone with you. You found the sweater and told me about it 2 days ago. The room seemed to tilt around me, but the texts, let me show you something. Jennifer picked up my phone and opened the settings. Under the message app, preferences was an option I'd never noticed. Scheduled messages. She tapped it, revealing dozens of texts queued to be sent from Mom at specific times. Messages I had apparently written myself. You've been doing this for months, Jennifer said softly. Creating conversations with Mom. Scheduling her responses for later so it seems like she's reaching out. That's not possible, I insisted, but even as I spoke, fragmented memories surfaced. Sitting alone at the kitchen table at midnight, carefully crafting messages in my mother's voice, setting alarms to wake up and move objects around the house, creating evidence of her presence. And the shadow in the kitchen, the things she knew that nobody else could know? Jennifer sat beside me, taking my hands in hers. You know those things because they're your memories, your experiences. The shadow. She hesitated. Doctor. Levine says the mind can create powerful visualizations during dissociative episodes. It felt so real, I whispered. She felt real. I know, sweetie. That's why Dr. Levine wants you to come stay with me for a while, just until we can get the medication balanced and start proper therapy. I looked around the kitchen, my mother's kitchen with its outdated wallpaper and the scratch on the counter from Thanksgiving 1998 and the hundreds of meals prepared with love over decades. The thought of leaving felt like losing her all over again. She told me not to go with you, that we needed to stay together. I could still hear the voice, still feel the cold spot where the shadow had stood. Jennifer's grip on my hands tightened. That wasn't Mom talking, not the Mom we knew. Our mother would want you to heal, to live. I nodded slowly, tears spilling down my cheeks. I miss her so much. Me too. Jennifer's eyes glistened. Every day. We sat together until morning light filtered through the kitchen windows, chasing away the last of the shadows. As dawn broke, I agreed to pack a bag, to go with Jennifer, to get help. That was 2 months ago. I've been living with my sister, seeing Dr. Levine 3 times a week. The medication helps. The therapy helps more. Most days, I can distinguish between memory and reality, between grief and delusion. But sometimes, late at night when Jennifer is asleep, my phone will chime with a notification. I'm still here, sweetheart, waiting for you to come home. I've shown these messages to Dr. Levine. We've checked my scheduled messages, my app settings. Nothing explains them. The doctor suggests they're manifestations of my lingering resistance to recovery, perhaps messages I'm sending myself in states of dissociation. Jennifer installed cameras in my bedroom to monitor for sleepwalking episodes. They show me sleeping soundly through the night, even as messages appear on my phone. Last week, I asked Jennifer if I could visit the house, just to collect more of my things, I said. She agreed, though she insisted on coming with me. The house was exactly as we'd left it. A fine layer of dust covered the surfaces. Mail had piled up inside the door. The air was stale, undisturbed. As Jennifer went upstairs to help gather my clothes, I found myself drawn to the kitchen. It looked smaller somehow, ordinary in the daylight. I ran my fingers along the counter, the table where our family had gathered for thousands of meals. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Welcome home. I didn't respond, didn't need to. Because as I stood there, I felt the familiar shift in the air, the temperature drop, the gathering of shadows in the corner. This time I wasn't afraid. Whatever this presence was, whether some fragment of my mother anchored to the house she'd loved, or a manifestation of my own fractured psyche, it was tied to this place. It couldn't follow me to Jennifer's. couldn't reach me when I was surrounded by the living, by light and movement, and the noisy business of ongoing life. "I have to go now," I said quietly to the empty room. "I think we both know that." The shadow in the corner seemed to pulse, expanding and contracting like something breathing. "She won't take care of you like I can." "No," I agreed, "but I need to learn to take care of myself." The shadow stretched across the floor, reaching toward my feet. My phone vibrated continuously now, message after message filling the screen. "Don't leave me alone here. I died in this house, in pain, afraid. Is this how you repay everything I sacrificed for you?" Each word felt less like my mother, more like something wearing her voice as a mask, something desperate and hungry and deeply wrong. I stepped back toward the doorway, toward the sunlight streaming into the front hall where Jennifer was calling my name. "Goodbye, Mom," I said, though I no longer believed that's who I was addressing. "I love you, but I have to go." The shadow reared up, stretching toward the ceiling, its edges seething and churning. My phone screen cracked, though I hadn't dropped it. The temperature plummeted until my breath clouded before my face. "Maddie," Jennifer appeared in the doorway. "Who are you talking to?" For just a moment, I saw her eyes widen as she looked past me into the kitchen, saw her face register something between shock and terror. Then she grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the front door. "We're leaving now." We didn't speak until we were in the car, pulling away from the curb. My phone had gone dark, the screen not just cracked but blackened as if burned from within. "You saw it," I said, not a question. Jennifer's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "I saw something." "Then I'm not crazy." She was quiet for a long moment. "Number, not completely. But that doesn't mean what's in that house is Mom." That night, in the safety of Jennifer's guest room, I told Dr. Levine everything during our video session. About the shadows, the messages, Jennifer's confirmation that something was indeed in the house. "The mind is powerful," he said carefully, "and grief can create collective experiences, shared emotions that sometimes translate to shared perceptions. You think Jennifer saw it because I've been telling her about it for months. It's possible." He adjusted his glasses. "It's also possible there are things in this world we don't fully understand. The connection between the living and the dead, the imprint of emotion on physical spaces. So what do I do?" "The same thing we've been working on. You heal, you move forward." His expression softened. "Whatever is in that house, whether it's a manifestation of your grief or something else entirely, it's not your responsibility. And it's not your mother, not in any way that matters." I've decided to sell the house, not because I'm afraid, but because holding on to it means holding on to whatever has taken root there. Jennifer has helped me list it with a realtor who specializes in family estates. Sometimes I still wake to find new messages on the replacement phone Jennifer bought me. They're less frequent now, less insistent, more distant, like a signal fading with increasing range. The most recent one came last night. "I understand now what I am, what's happening. It's not just me in this house. There are others, many others. Fragments caught between. We're drawn to the living, to the warmth, especially to those who grieve for us. Be careful, sweetheart. Not all of us remember how to love. I don't know if this entity is truly some remnant of my mother, corrupted by death and isolation, or if it's something else that found a way in through my grief, wearing her face and voice to keep me close. What I do know is that real love sets you free. It doesn't text you from empty kitchens. It doesn't lurk in shadows. It doesn't ask you to harm those trying to help you. My mother taught me that. The real her, not the thing sending messages from a house growing colder by the day. I've blocked the number now, changed my phone settings to reject all communications from unknown contacts. Dr. Levine says that's healthy, a boundary between past and present, between grief and recovery. But sometimes, as I'm falling asleep, I feel the air change, feel a familiar presence settling into the chair beside my bed. And though no texts come through, I hear her voice all the same, a whisper just at the edge of understanding. I don't know if I'll ever be truly free of her, or it, or if I even want to be, Grief changes shape, but never really leaves us. All I know is that the living must keep living, and whatever waits in shadows or sends messages from empty rooms will have to find its own way forward, or back, or through, or whatever.